This is the Canongate Kirkyard in Edinburgh's Old Town.
As a burial ground, it dates back to the 1680s. The church was completed in 1691, and there are some pretty imposing bits of stone here. Tombs to be seen in.
Long-term viewers of this channel might just wonder why I'm here again.
Well, it kind of looks like I've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led down the graveyard path.
But I'm definitely not the only one.
There's a story that's been doing the rounds over the past few years, and it's one that I've kind of contributed to. Apparently, in June 1842, Charles Dickens was due to give a lecture, kind of an after-dinner speaking gig in Edinburgh. He was kicking his heels, killing some time, so he took himself off for a stroll around the Old Town and wound up here in the Canongate Kirkyard. Dickens was wandering about, eyeballing graves, when one in particular grabbed his attention. The inscription told him it belonged to one Ebenezer Scroggie, a mealman, someone who sold meal, corn, that kind of thing. But Dickens apparently misread it and thought Scroggie was a mean man. So mean, they'd stuck it on his gravestone. That thought stuck with him, and legend has it he wrote in his diary that to be remembered through eternity only for being mean seemed the greatest testament to a life wasted.
That same year, a government report on child labour in mines told a tale of grim conditions.
16-hour days, beatings, the kind of thing we'd probably call Dickensian today. Dickens read it, and it made him angry. He hadn't always been a famous writer. When he was only 12, his father had been locked up in a debtor's prison. And as the oldest boy, Charles very suddenly had to be the main breadwinner. He finished up working in a shoe polish factory. The report bothered him so much that he wanted to do something. So he started writing a pamphlet. He called it an appeal to the people of England on behalf of a poor man's child. But he realised that was kind of fact-driven, political, maybe even a wee bit preachy. Far better, he decided, to appeal to rich industrialists from the heart. Make them question their own ways with a story.
Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol in 6 weeks, walking the streets of London to thrash out the details in his head.
He had to publish it himself because his last novel hadn't sold too well. It was expensive to produce. It was bound in red leather and illustrated by the well-known political cartoonist John Leech. His images are still the ones you see in films today. Scrooge, whose name has now become kind of a description in itself, is visited by the ghost of his business partner, the similarly penny-pinching Jacob Marley, then by 3 more spirits, who help him see the error of his ways.
The ghost of Christmas Present seems to be the one you'd most like to hang out with.
Come in and know me better, man.
I've tried to stop him doing that.
Ebenezer Scroggie isn't supposed to have been a mean man at all. He's said to have been born in Kirkyard in 1792, a cousin of the economist Adam Smith, whose grave is just behind me. He was a councillor, a Lord Provost of Edinburgh for a short time, and into a bit of everything, especially ladies. He was a vintner and a corn merchant by trade, hence the mealman. His family had supplied the Endeavour on Captain Cook's voyages, and he had supplied the booze for George IV's visit to Scotland in 1822, the one that kicked off the whole tartan mania thing. 2 bottles of Scroggie's Highland brandy, produced for the event, are said to survive today.
This is the Grass Market, the place where he lived, above the Beehive Inn.
Scroggie was, apparently, pretty well to do, and the name and the misunderstanding are really the only similarities to his almost namesake. In fact, he was full of the joys, supposedly through the best parties. He's said to have been buried here in 1836, fairly close to his cousin.
A Christmas Carol formed a lot of the ways we celebrate Christmas today.
It's led to what we now think of as the Christmas dinner in the UK. Before Dickens made Scrooge order one from the butcher, turkey wasn't even a thing. It was a time when traditions were changing quickly. Decorations, trees, even presents are all new to Christmas. A lot of what we think of as tradition was melded together in the Victorian era. Even the notion of the White Christmas in the UK, where it hardly ever snows at Christmas, is thought to have come from Dickens' descriptions, because he lived at the tail end of a particularly cold snap, and I love the fact it was partly inspired here. It's almost too good to be true.
You can kind of see what's coming.
About 2 weeks after I made my video about Scroggy, the brilliant Susan Morrison published an article in the Scotsman newspaper that shed a bit of new light on the whole Scroggy affair. There are no birth records for an Ebenezer Scroggie in Kirkyard. He's not listed in the Leith and Edinburgh post office directories, which most prominent businessmen would have been at the time. He was never listed as a Lord Provost, and there's no obituary for him, which would have been unusual for someone so well known.
In fact, the earliest mention of him is in an obscure article by an eccentric journalist in the November edition of the Erotic Review in 1998. The Herald, the Scotsman, the Times and the BBC all reported on it, and from there, the story kind of grew arms and legs. Scroggie's been included in tours, events and even sermons in his local church. At one point there was talk of a memorial. But is he a load of old humbug?
We have absolutely no proof Scroggie ever existed. But we've no proof he didn't.
And the mystery kind of adds to the story. One I think Dickens would be proud of.